Hello again, this is Kevin Wenning, and this will be episode 3 of my photo editing fundamentals, starting with all of the things that I had to learn when I first started taking my photography seriously. This episode is all about how to get your photos into your computer, organize them, and develop a plan to start working on them. This is an ever-evolving process. Pretty much never ends. However, I'll show you what I'm doing right now. I'm sure this will change over time, and I'll be happy to update this as I go. So I'm going to go through how do the photos come into my computer, what libraries do they live in, and then right now what's my publishing and sharing plan. First off, we've got where do the photos come in, and they generally come in from one place, well, two places, three places, that being mostly the SD cards that I shoot with. But when I'm done shooting, I dump them right here. This is, of course, the little red drive. If you've seen any of my videos, I've got this little travel drive. Take a couple of different ones with me, but that's my main one. And this is the inbound from external sources that's on that red drive. So all of the photos get dumped there at the end of the day when I'm done shooting. I also make another backup to the Dropbox Trip Photo Backups folder. So if either one of those gets destroyed, I've got a copy in the other spot. So let's assume that for today, we've got these coming in from the inbound from external sources. I don't have any photos in there, but if I did, I would take them out of there and dump them into one of my 3 libraries. Now, I went over in my last video in episode 2 about how those come in. You can either maintain your own folder structure or do it in a digital asset management tool like Bridge or like a On1 Photos. I haven't really gone into detail on those. We'll do that in some future sessions. Here's my 3 main libraries. Eponymous is basically any kind of family photos. And I'll just take a look real quick at one of these folders. We've got basically just family events. My son was born. I don't know what this Friday Scotch is. That's an interesting one. Christmas, obviously this is all going to be just family events. So that's the first one. Looking over here at Intentionally Lost, this is my main travel folder. In 2014, I spent a lot of time traveling, and this folder, obviously 309 gig, went up considerably from the year before, which means I started to really focus on taking more photos and doing more travel. 2013, pretty much just family activities, and went to Charleston, it looks like. A couple of things around Colorado. Went to Mexico once. So I've got some photos in there that I plan on going back and revisiting and editing, but I wasn't really focusing on my photography then. And in 2014, I started also, I had to go back and relabel all of these because I started organizing them by year and then by month and then by day. And when you break it down even further, looking at one of these folders, let's go Bethlehem. In Bethlehem, I've got several different places that I went and shot. So I label those, of course, with the name of the place as well. So that helps me later when I do go and label these and add metadata. All of the EXIF data to these helps me to know how to tag them. So that's about all I wanted to show you there. And then I've got my, everything comes through this folder for working on. This is basically everything that I'm currently processing. And then after it's done, it goes into the Worldwide Butter catalog. I don't know why I named it that. I break this down a little bit differently. I do this by location, and then I go in here and tag these as well. Same thing. I don't name these by date. I name these by location. It's not nearly as important to me. The metadata is in these photos if I need to figure out the date that I shot those. But when I'm breaking down this file structure for my completed photos, I'm primarily just going in and looking for location photos. And this is the quickest way for me to do that. The next thing that I'm going to touch on is how do you plan on processing your photos? And there's 3 main ways that I've experienced. I know some people do it differently. So you've got either you're going to process a photo just one at a time. So you're going to grab that photo, take it into any kind of photo editing software, and let's have a look at the different ones that I have on my computer. Open with, I've got a whole bunch of different ones. Some of these I use all the time. Some of these I don't use hardly at all. But I can quickly and easily access them right here from, this is Adobe Bridge. If you are just starting to develop your file structure, I highly recommend trying Adobe Bridge. I started using it before I started using Photoshop and Lightroom because it really helps you to make sense of your folder structure, and it kind of does a lot of the work for you. I'm not going to go into detail on that today, but it's a free program. You don't have to have Photoshop or Lightroom to have Adobe Bridge, so it's a great place to start. If you're going to start getting into the thousands of photos and terabytes of data and photos, then you're going to want something a little bit more robust. But even if you're managing a lot of photos, this is a great way to get to them quickly and easily. I pass a lot of the photos through here. You're going to see this is my currently processing folder. This is my inbox where I go to when I have time to go process pictures. So I'll take things out of Lightroom, send them into here, and I know that if there's still stuff in here, I can't go back into Lightroom and continue working on new photos. I need to finish what I dumped in here first. So that would be the quickest way to edit one at a time. Pick a photo editing software out of here, and pretty much anything on your computer is going to show up from Bridge. Of course, you can usually do like this, drag it down, drop it on an icon for one of your photo editors as well. There are a number of ways to open those. We're not going to get into that. Another popular way to edit is in batches, and you can do this in Adobe Bridge. You can also do this in Lightroom. There are several other batch editors out there. Most of them keep it really simple, where they will batch edit where they resize or they change the EXIF and metadata in your photos. There aren't a whole lot of them that will actually batch edit the actual look of your photo. There is a very complex way to do that in Photoshop, where you apply actions on export. I'll get into that at a later time. That's a great way to tone all of your images and make them look like they were shot with a certain kind of film, let's say. And you can also do that in something like Nik Effects. I'm going to give you an example here of these are some homes that I shot this last summer. This one had a really cool bathroom. Where is that? All right, there we are. Let's edit that. Opening Camera Raw. Camera Raw comes with Adobe. You don't have, or Adobe Bridge. You don't have to pay for that or pay for Photoshop in order to have Adobe Camera Raw. Let's make a few edits here, and I'm only doing this to show you how it's going to affect all of your other photos if you're doing a batch edit. So I'm not too worried about getting it perfect here. Drop those highlights down a little bit more, relax down. All right, happy with that, done for now. And then you can see that it already applied it here in your thumbnail, and you can see right here that it's already got some edits applied to it. That's what this little slider icon means up here. So right click, develop settings, copy the settings, and then the other photos that you want to apply it to, click on those, hold down Command or Control, click on the other photos that you want to apply the same settings to, and then right click, develop settings, paste, and then you're going to get this little dialog box. And this happens the same way in Lightroom. It'll ask you which of those settings from that photo do you want to copy over to the other photos. I'm just going to leave them all checked for now, and you'll see that it made those adjustments to the other photos. I'm actually not thrilled with the way it adjusted all of those photos. I'm probably going to have to go and change that later, but that's all I wanted to show for the moment. And this works great if you are shooting an event, let's say, or sports, where the light is the same for an hour, or you're shooting, let's say, a bunch of people around a table and it's lit by candlelight. You can adjust one photo, apply it to the rest of them, and that's a quick way to do your batch edits. Now, I don't really use Bridge that much anymore, so why did I show this to you? I'm going through the steps that I took when I started my photography, and I wanted to get into things in the least expensive way possible, just to figure out what am I doing here? What do I want to do next? And this is a great step for me to understand how to kind of build my folder structure, how I wanted to work with those all of my images. So this that I showed you earlier, where we've got these dates and then all of the names, that's how I figured out how I wanted to organize these. And when I was shooting these homes, the client that I was shooting for wanted them named a certain way, so we did that, and It's got a little tour number appended to each one. It's also got the basically a sequence number, so that's how they stored them in their database. So it may vary. If you if you have clients that you work for, you're probably going to have to end up doing the same thing. And Bridge does that nicely. You can also do this on a Mac, just in the Finder. You can edit and where is it? Batch rename. So you can rename and relabel all of those photos from that shoot in a nice, quick, efficient manner. So the important thing to consider here is what is going to be your input and what is going to be your output. What happens in the middle, we'll get to later. The main thing that I want you to consider here is, so you've got your libraries, then you've got how do I plan to work on them. Do it as lightweight as possible to start with. You don't need to be purchasing a ton of fancy software. If you look at my list here with any of these, this is easily over $1,000 worth of different photo editing softwares. You don't need to go crazy like that. Do something super simple to start with. GIMP is free. I'm going to get to that in a couple of episodes here and do a review on GIMP. Picasa is free. Photos is free. And if you're not planning to do really complex edits on your photos, all you need is a free software. You don't need to be paying big bucks for anything too complex. All right, moving on. So I gave you the input, and then part of my workflow as far as how do you plan on working on the photos. And the next important thing to consider is your output. What are you going to do with the photos once you've finished editing them? Let's take a look. I've got basically two outputs. One is for all of the family and friends that I share my photos with. In addition to being a great way to share photos with family, Photos is also a great way to manage your photos and share them out across different devices and across the web. I'm going to give you a quick example of how I do this on my iPad. So I have an album that I've created here for social sharing. Some of these photos I've just dumped in there because I thought they were cool, but I'm not sure I'll probably ever share them because they may or may not be something that somebody else would ever care to see. So for a quick example, all right, here's one of a path in the jungle in Indonesia. But to me, it's just not one of those photos that I'm probably going to put up, and I can quickly take this out of my iPad and see it update on my photos on my desktop. So I love this as a management tool because I can manage it quickly and easily from my iPad as well as from photos. This is another one for my blog. You've got blog content, travel journal, blog images, and this is how I keep track of what's been published up on the blog. Some people will do this in Lightroom, some people will do this in a folder structure. I chose folder structure for this because I can access it on any device. The next step is all of my professional work that I'm going to publish to different places on the web goes through this process, goes through a processed complete folder, and I generally, anything that comes over into Photos goes into this folder first, and then I import it into my Photos library. Metadata complete means that I have tagged it, I've labeled it, it's ready to go up on a website. And trying to keep it super simple for now. So this is the different places that I have my outputs, if you will. And then this is the end result output to SmugMug. I really like it because of the way that it displays the photos. I'm really considering moving everything over to PhotoShelter. I've heard very good things about it. It's pretty expensive for the same thing that I get for SmugMug. I think it has a little bit better options for selling. So I haven't really dove into selling my photos yet. That's the effort. That's the effort for next year. This year was all about how do I manage my photos and start learning how to edit them. So SmugMug is one library that I maintain, and Google Plus is another one. I've just started creating myself some collections here. They don't have very much in them right now. I like Google Plus because it's a great community of photographers. You can share things and get feedback on them, and also become part of a community of other people who are working and sharing the same things as you. Instagram, I do have an Instagram. I've had one forever. Don't have a lot of followers. It hasn't really been a big deal to me. I don't purchase followers. Don't purchase your friends. If you like me, follow me. Would love that. I will follow you as well if I like what you're doing. The final, of course, is my website and my blog. This one as well, I use to link back to, so if you click on a photo from my website, it's going to link back to the full-size photos on my SmugMug site, plus the other photos that are from that same location. So SmugMug is really great for that. I think Photo Shelter does that too. I'm going to be digging into that and doing a little bit more research here shortly. Okay, so to summarize the highlights, if you're just getting into managing your own photos, try and do it as inexpensively as possible to get started, because the reason that I have a lot of those softwares on my computer, I bought something thinking this is going to solve all my problems, this is going to be great. You don't know until you get into it and start to use it. So if you follow along, I'll show you how I use those, how I started off as a beginner using the tools, and then how I progressed through the tools. You may discover that something free and simple is all you really need. You may discover that you need something a little bit more complex, and hopefully as you grow as a photographer, you'll know exactly what those tools are and how to use them and bend them to your will. So this has been a blog entry for December 30th of 2015. These are the tools that I use currently. I'll keep updating them as I go. All right. Thank you for joining me. Be well and have a great new year.